Hello, welcome to number 5 of our season kind of previews, our roster deep downs. It's just Louis and I, as always, with these. We're on to the Leicester Riders, and we were just talking there before we hit record about actually, like, this team is looking pretty good. So, Louis, how are you with this one?
As always, man, I'm good, and just excited to get
So,
into it.
yeah, loads of fresh faces. They're obviously bringing back Spencer Johnson, Victor Ndoukou, and Duke Shelton. But other than that, all fresh faces on this Rob Paternoster team. Rob has a history of recruiting really strongly, really high IQ players, good shooters, and yeah, off the back, it seems like that's exactly what they've got here.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of really good system players, like a lot of players that will fit into Rob's system perfectly, and that's just, how he recruits. He recruits smart players, so...
Because I've spent some time properly looking into this today, and, like, it's guys, like, other than Denzel Mahoney and I suppose Duke Shelton now, it's a very young team, but a team that are got good IQ, as you said, can easily buy into Rob's system, but a group of guys that seem to really work in good teams. Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see now. Like, we hadn't really gone in depth on Leicester at all because we were waiting to see how many more players they would announce, and maybe the glaringly obvious thing, just looking at their roster on the side there, maybe lacking a guard or two, but the versatility of their wings could be huge for them.
Yeah, because I mean, they brought in Denzel Mahoney, who's a very big wing for our league, who, I think will be able to play, multi-positionally. A guy like Tommy Wasulaman, who's again multi positional, could play like across the 4 or the 3. Flynn Boardman-Raffet's basically positionless. So
yeah, we'll get in depth chart later on, but let's start. Let's start at the guard spot. Do you want to start with Evee, or do you want to start talking about Mike Mitchell Jr.?
Let's start with Mike Mitchell Jr. first. So Mike Mitchell is kind of a very good kind of team player. As we were talking about earlier, the high IQ really kind of works well with others. He's a combo guard that kind of is more valuable as a shooter off ball versus his ability to create per se. Off ball, he's lights out. If he gets an inch of space, he's going to be hitting. He's good at kind of relocating into threes. Like alongside a guy like Travis Evee, he's going to work really well off of him. Because he doesn't force anything. That's the thing. He doesn't force anything. In terms of creation, his kind of sense, because he's not, he's kind of decent speed-wise, but in terms of handles, in terms of creating advantages, he's not. Because in terms of his efficiency as a pick-and-roll handler in both Pepperdine and Minnesota, it wasn't too great. He isn't too good at creating space in the mid-range. He isn't too good as a finisher around the rim, or creating good looks at the rim. He hasn't got a very good decel game around the rim. But he'll just be a kind of like a lower usage combo that works in Rob's system. Defensively, he's pretty decent physically. He's not too quick, but he does a job. He does defend. So yeah, he does put energy.
And let's look across the front line with his Travis Evee, 6'1", Rice University, signed in I think North Macedonia last year, but didn't play at all. So it's going to be basically his rookie pro season. He's another one, when I've watched him play, looks effortless, shares the ball, can hit from his spots. Is he maybe a little bit better at getting to the basket compared to Mike Mitchell?
Oh, massively so. I really like Travis Evee. I think that's a really smart pickup. He's a score first kind of a combo, but something I picked up is he's smart again. He because he's a very shifty kind of dangerous handle. He really likes to get downhill, kind of threaten the defense that way. But his knack for and kind of his not maneuverability, his body control in terms of finishing as a finisher, as a 6'1" guard,
he plays bigger than 6'1". He plays so much bigger than 6'1".
He plays bigger than he plays so much bigger than 6'1". But he was finishing shot like baskets around the rim that I was like, how the hell did he get that in? He's that type of guard that really shifty, kind of handles, threatens defenders, dangerous ISO scorer. If there isn't a shot on, he kicks it out. He doesn't force shots. That was one of the key things. Like he as a team player, again, he really works well in a team concept as kind of like that primary scorer, but not kind of forcing too much, if that kind of makes sense. He can, act as a passer, etc. Also a very good shooter off ball. I think he was one of the best, or led Rice in three-pointers made, which is incredible because Rice is a very storied kind of college, and the fact of what he did as a scorer at Rice at that level in the American Conference kind of speaks volumes to the level of player he will be. But he's very good at relocating into threes. Again, he isn't static off ball. Defensively, he's a little bit undersized as a 6'1" guard. He does, again, he's not a slouch. He will put effort defensively, but his length kind of, he won't be the most impactful defender, but he will put effort. He won't be like a negative. It will be useful, I suppose. That's a way to say. But let's look on. You and I have gone back and forth, and Denzel Mahoney, 6'5", last played for the Austin Spurs, but 2 seasons ago. Like, he's not played since like the 22-23 season, and both of you and I are like, how how's he got here? How yeah. So let's put aside those things and just look at him as a player. Some of his Spurs highlights, like, you very much just look like a classy individual, good scorer, good teammate. I don't know if you remember ever watching the Riders or remember the name Tyler Bernardini, but he gives me major Tyler Bernardini vibes. But yeah, what should Riders fans look out for in Mahoney? If he's anything like how he played at Creighton, who were a good team when he was there. They got to the regional semi-finals or whatever in the NCAA tournament. Because he was in the game that I watched, he was guarding Jalen Suggs from the Magic. He's kind of like a 6'5". Grant was questioning whether he's actually 6'5", but he's very physical. Strong. He's very physical, like 220. He's listed at 220, which is huge. This guy can defend 2 to 4, can kind of pick up point of attack sometimes. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him do that sometimes. The thing that makes him dangerous is, again, excellent off-ball shooter, catch and shoot, whatever. But it's his kind of value adding in terms of as a wing. We were talking about this with Mike Sell, and that's kind of what allows players to play up another level, which is why I think this is a magnificent signing, and I think he's probably would have been destined for higher had he actually played a Euro, went into Europe earlier. But he can create if the play breaks down, he can create his own shot. He has a multifaceted straight line game. If in attacking advantages, he can attack the rim with decent physicality. He's not very vertically athletic, so as a finisher, he's not. Let's say if he plays at a higher level, that might be a question mark, but at our level, it would probably be good enough.
He's definitely not. He's not flashy at the basket.
He's not flashy at the basket. He can take a dribble, mid range pull up, efficient at it. I think he shot like 50% in the mid range, which is stupid. He can kind of take secondary pick and roll, like what Zach Jackson did. That actually might be a pretty decent comparison. Maybe not as much of a threat, actually maybe, because I mean he at his college previous to Creighton, which is obviously at a lower level, he was their key scorer. So maybe. I mean, maybe. Obviously he hasn't played for multiple years, but that maybe could be an equivalent. But defensively huge, a very efficient off-ball scorer that can occasionally take secondary pick and roll, which obviously Rob likes to, have his wings do. So I think he's going to be scary if he's anything like his Creighton guy.
And it just depends what his basketball's like from not, like, if you can't find anything on him, I can't find anything on him. Like, what's he been doing? What's he been doing? All right, is this time we talk about Victor Ndoukou before we go into some of the other new guys further down? Let's build up Ndoukou, because you know what? It felt like we peer pressured Rob last season into playing him more. And he did. And you know what? Playoff champs contributed massively in the playoffs. It felt like getting on the more and more minutes as the season goes on. Only on the Riders roster this season, not playing Loughborough, not whatever, full-time pro. It feels like a big season for Victor. Will he be able to do it?
Will he be able to do it? I think we saw last season that he can be. He has a way to be impactful at this level. He has a role at this level, and Rob already tapped into it last season with his, role in the playoffs. Like I said, he was kind of asked to be kind of like a matchup specific guy against Christian James, kind of, because he's got good size for a 4-man, 4-3, kind of combo forward. He can kind of stretch the floor at the NBL level. He was creating his own looks. Like he's got a good pull up game. He's got a good pull up game. He's not underskilled. He had a good assist to turnover ratio. He had a good level of kind of playmaking off of his scoring threat in the NBL. He can. So in terms of fitting in and not kind of being a detriment, and being able to spread the ball, kind of keep the ball flowing, etc. He can do that. A big thing is obviously his ability to kind of shoot off ball, because like I said, he was able to do it, but it's whether it's to a level good enough to.
Yeah, because that's almost my next question to you on him. What's his limitations? Will we see a more aggressive Victor Ndoukou because he's going to have a greater role? Like last season, that Leicester team, the first 7 players on the roster were just magnificent for them, let's be honest. They were very good. Victor became maybe the 8th, 9th man as the season, 8th man probably as the season ticked on. Well, I'd be interested to see what percentage usage he has in contribution in terms of minutes, but also when he's on the floor, what's he contributing? Is he there purely? Where is he in the offense? That's why I'm curious to see his limitations.
Yeah, because I mean, in Charnwood and Loughborough, he was
the guy.
Well, I mean, he was one of our top talents. He was the guy. He was known for being quite a kind of like a guy that we don't really produce that much in, being like a kind of like a skilled bigger player. 6'7", kind of wing-ish kind of skill set that we don't really produce much. So, again, like you say, it'll be interesting to see what he does with him.
Hey, let's look down at the bigs. Where do we start? Let's go Johnny O'Neill first. When he was announced, was really high on him. Rookie, again, another rookie pro, Santa Clara University of, I can't remember what one it is. It's one of Santa Clara, whatever it is. Is it just Santa Clara? There's another one, someone else then. It's come from one that's got an abbreviated terms.
I mean, as UC Santa Barbara, but that's where
someone's anyway. Let's keep going. Johnny O'Neill, 6'10", shooting threes. Discuss.
No, he's I think he should have gone to a much higher league, to be honest. He's going to be on the Abercrombie trajectory. Like, if he doesn't get picked up by a team in like Greece first or whatever, I'd be shocked, to be frank. He's a huge 6'10" wing again, like Riley Abercrombie. Think Riley Abercrombie, but with an ability to kind of create out the pick and roll. He's got a handle, he's dangerous. He's pretty quick in attacking closeouts. He's a good passer. He can even play make out of the pick and roll. Again, high volume 3-point shooter who shot 40%. Defensively, this guy, like his block rates were like 6%.
Yeah.
So think about most of the bigs in our league,
and let's be honest, most of the bigs in our year most of the bigs in the league this year are around about 6'8", 6'9".
Yeah, and this guy's 6'10" and long, and he's handling out the pick and roll. He's scoring out of the pick and roll. So basically, what his role will be. Again, think Riley Abercrombie. Shooting threes, attacking closeouts. But I'd assume more of like secondary kind of pick and roll stuff, so kind of like a secondary handler, just more offensive responsibility basically.
Yeah, huge at him.
I think he's going to be scary.
Me too. All right, let's because generally we could focus on everyone for this roster. There's some really interesting picks. Before we look at the depth chart, let's talk about Nate Martin, 6'8". He is their big man. He's their Charles Thompson replacement in terms of that 5-man. Watching his stuff, great block rate round the basket, workhorse, goes chasing after rebound, but is also happy to put the ball on the floor to get to the basket.
Yeah, he's a mobile big whose skill, he's an excellent passer. Just give him the ball in the short roll and he will make instant decisions. As a playmaker with the side he's going to be, obviously with all the shooters, it's going to be dangerous. I forgot to mention this, but Travis Evee played alongside a guy called Max Fieldler, who was basically exactly the same as Nate Martin, playmaker, big, so he'll be used to that. But get back to Nate Martin, like you said, kind of decent. He plays very active as a rebounder. He's not. So he's he's not particularly. So kind of around the rim finishing wise, he's a little bit average. I think it's fair to say, kind of like in terms of post scoring, kind of a little bit average. I wouldn't be expecting anything like Charles Thompson, and also very active as an offensive rebounder. He can kind of have a little bit of kind of like that face up game, like you were talking about. Can kind of, with his right side, he can kind of drive to the rim if they're not kind of pressuring him, but maybe not too much of a threat there. His thing is like being a brilliant passer, can defend around the rim,
block rates
like
good,
you said, decent block rates, being an active rebounder. I mean, to be frank, with the players they've got, they don't really need.
Yeah, he's purely there to be that active rebounder, share the ball about, create space inside, and let these guys shoot balls. Genuinely, basically. Yeah. All right, let's look at the depth chart on the Riders. I'm really this. I think you could tell, hopefully, by listening to this, how both of us are just like, this team this year could be really good. And I think when we come to do our main show podcast, I think we're both probably going to have Leicester higher than what we maybe originally going to have them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely
Like,
so. Like I was being stupid when I last rated it. So
I was being stupid. So we look at this depth chart, and instantly, I suppose is there? When you look at that, what do you see?
I mean, there's a big like Connor-shaped hole at the one
Yeah.
spot. That's what I see immediately.
Is that the
But
big limitation of this
Flynn,
roster?
kind of,
Or is this where you're saying Flynn
well,
Boardman-Raffet could
you'd
easily?
hope you don't. Raffet, Raffet.
Hey, you say he's
Raffet.
positionless.
He is positionless. You're right. Flynn Boardman-Raffet.
Sorry.
Can kind of because he played in Canadian college, which isn't something we often see here. The last guy that kind of came straight from Canadian college was that Surrey guy. Anyway, so Flynn Boardman-Raffet was basically like their primary handler. He was their offense. He scored 20 points a game. He shot a crazy percentage at the rim. Like his one thing is kind of being a physical, decent speed, decent handles, rim threat, going straight at the rim. You know, he's like when he gets ahead of steam, he's dangerous, man. Because he's built again, like he's like 210, 220. You know, he was very difficult physically to handle, and he uses his physicality very well. And as a finisher, he's very efficient at the rim. You know, and I mean, even though it was at Canadian college, you know, he kind of showed he can do that at the Hoops Fix program against potentially better competition, but whatever. Primary handler so his assist to turnover ratio was kind of a little bit bad. He was quite a little bit turnover prone. In terms of being like a playmaker, he's not perfect. He can be a little bit decision making. Basically, his decision making as a handler isn't always pitch perfect, but he can kind of. He has a little bit of shot making from free, but he shot 31%. But his main thing is being that big rim pressure guy as a handler, kind of in the pick and roll, taking up additional handling reps, stuff like that. Defensively, he's probably going to be a little bit. If they do see him as like a 2, he's probably going to be a little bit slow. But he's, because he's so physical, he's just versatile. You know, he can probably play some 4 in our league. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see him play. And I love that they picked him up, man. Because I love him.
Yeah, because that was when his name got mentioned. You could tell the Brit bunt. You're banging the drum for him because obviously being a Brit, getting an opportunity, which is sometimes unlike Leicester. So it's good to see them going that. Ndoukou, but Suleiman as well, coming from Towson. Obviously the Charles Thompson link there. We've basically talked on everyone in this roster because we are so high on them all. We've not talked about Duke Shelton because people know what to expect from Duke Shelton. Probably it'll be the exact same. But last one on Suleiman, what can we expect from him?
Defense. Like, he's a very active defender. And he's a very physical defender.
Like, he's like 230. 220. When I say that, I'm meaning pounds, not like kg for whatever. Very physical defender. I think it's more like a 4 because he's laterally, he's not like he kind of got beat for pace sometimes a little bit, but he is like again like his defensive playmaking was just off the charts basically. 3% on both steals and block rates, which across the entirety of D1 was kind of unprecedented. I wouldn't be surprised if he was like one of. Actually, no. I think I did check. I think he was like one of only 10 players that actually had that, which is ridiculous. Very active rebounder in terms of offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. Excellent at that. Offensively, he's kind of like. So he was kind of at Towson. He's kind of like played in a lot of dribble handoff stuff, which is interesting. Kind of like handling a little bit. I wouldn't expect him to be used that much like that. He can he's a decent passer, plays within the offense very well. In terms of like spot ups and like, he's kind of like a mediocre shooter, kind of like decent volume, but I won't be expecting him to be shooting very well. Like in terms of as a slasher, obviously he's very physical. He likes to kind of like Barkley into post ups, so dribble into post up opportunities. But in terms of finishing around the rim, he's not very, which is interesting because he's very good at this with his blocks, but he's not a very vertical athlete, and he doesn't really have a very good kind of like gather game around the rim. So he is kind of shot making, or his shot diet at the rim isn't very good. So he shot a very poor percentage at the rim. So that'd be interesting to track. But yeah, I think he'll be a serviceable offensive player, but his defense is going to come off the page instantly, man. He's
so it very much feels like a team. Like if you were going to look at this team without knowing who the coach was, who the logo, what team logo was, you go, this is a Rob Paternostro team. Like you generally would. High IQ guys, good defenders, and guys who can shoot the ball really well. Like you look at Evee, Mitchell, like O'Neal. To me, they're a team where, I mean, you can't compare them talent to last year's team, but we said there were 6-7 players in that roster. You could almost say the same in this one. There's maybe 3, 4, 5 players in this roster. Like, yeah, they're really good players. It'll be interesting to see what they're doing next summer and where they're going, because that's what we're like with this year's Leicester Riders.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think Travis Evee is probably kind of like a notch above the kind of players they signed last season. Mike Mitchell's coming from a good program, you know. Johnny O'Neill's going to be.
So who is, finishing off as usual, who is the Prophecies one to watch? You can't just say the team.
See, this is tough because I think there's going to be multiple, but yeah, Johnny O'Neill.
Johnny O'Neill, perfect.
Have a soft
Yeah,
spot
he
for
looks
him,
like he's going to be a player. So this was our Leicester Riders roster breakdown. Thank you again to everyone who's got involved so far. Thank you if you've watched all the videos. Hopefully they've been really good. This was number 5. So there'll be another 4 to come after this as we get ever closer to the season. Please continue to like, share, subscribe. And yeah, we'll be back for the next roster breakdown.